Great. We are back. We are back with our public investment plans, digital inclusion, and Keith is going to kick us off. I did just want to give a special shout out to Councilman Russ Pulley, who is with us, and also to Jackie Schrago, who has joined us, who was recognized by the White House earlier last week as a champion of change. And Jackie, we are so excited that you're here today. Thank you. I said this before, but I want to just reiterate, not all PIPs will potentially make it to the finish line. It doesn't mean that you might not have a great idea. It may mean that it's just not at the right place at this moment or needs some additional fleshing out. So we appreciate all the work you've already put into this, and we'll kick it off to you. Go ahead, Keith.
Thank you, Mayor. 7 minutes. Thank you, Mayor. The people in this room have no need to be reminded that Nashville is the IT city. However, that does not apply equally across the board. This is Sarah. She's one of the lucky ones. According to Pew Internet Research, 58,000 families in Davidson County do not have access to the internet or a device or understand the relevance of having those things in their homes today. Sam here is an MNPS student. According to MNPS's own 2012 survey, 44% of their students in 2012, over 35,000 students, likewise did not have access to a device or internet to do their work. This is in a school district that has rightly committed itself to inclusion of technology or blended learning in all of their activities. That means being able to do their homework as well. We truly have a digital divide between the digital haves like Sarah and the have-nots like Sam. However, over the last couple of years, there have been a number of ongoing efforts that are working to bridge this divide with organizations such as Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee and their Digital Inclusion Fund, Anytime Access for All in the schools, and Connect Home, which is a HUD program that's being currently piloted in the MDHA. So there are activities that are going on for this. However, these activities are certainly at their beginning stages, but we do believe that with a collective impact approach where each of our organizations brings the talents we have to the table, we can make a true difference in this space. What you're going to see in our PIP is related to a couple of years' experience with these programs, determining what lessons have we learned and approaching you with some items that can help address this. Don't get me wrong, there is no silver bullet to this issue here or anywhere else. What we're trying to do is apply our lessons and move forward in this approach. We're going to look at this from 3 different aspects. First, from the community, then specifically for MNPS students, and finally for MDHA's residents. So the PIP is divided into 3 separate components. Let's start with our community overall. The first request is that you refund the $100,000 grant that was started last year by Mayor Dean to the Digital Inclusion Fund hosted at Community Foundation. Community Foundation has acted both as an organizer in this space as well as an asset aggregator to bring together others in the community who are interested in helping fund these activities along with involvement from Metro government. Secondly, one of the real lessons learned that we have from our Anytime Access program, which is in its pilot out at Hunter's Lane today, we have learned that there is no single person within the school system whose job it is, though we have many committed people, there's no one whose job it is to add a consistent and organized manner, organize principals, teachers, students, families, the community at large, and make sure they're aware of and taking advantage of the programs we have available. So we're asking for a digital inclusion leader, fully funded at $107,000 a year to do that work within the school district. And then our third approach is for MDHA residents. So we would like to look at how can we address what we have found over the last couple of years to be the biggest issue within Nashville. That is having internet access for families. So I wanted to also break this down into 3 separate sub-options on how you might be able to approach this issue. The first issue is kind of the swinging for the stands approach. The mayor and I had a text message campaign back in January where she asked me the question, what would it take to just fix this connectivity issue for MDHA properties? She asked, and one way to do it is to blanket Metro Public Wi-Fi over MDHA properties. We've run the numbers with my staff, and to do that for a combined capital and operating number would be $17.7 million over 3 years, a significant investment. A second approach to that is to look at options on how we could use existing commercial facilities but subsidize that and treat internet as a utility just as Mr. Harbison pays for electricity. What about him paying for internet at a reduced rate that are available from lots of government properties today? Running that for 3 years would be $1.67 million. And there are lots of opportunities that are growing in this area as well. The third option would be a continuation of a program that we currently have in place. My staff has worked to extend Metro Public Wi-Fi to 3 community centers within MDHA properties. We're working on the 4th. To finish out the rest of the community centers within MDHA and provide that so a student has at least somewhere to go that's very close to their home would be 3-year capital and operating cost of $115,000. So finally, how do we measure this? With our experience and with the others around the country who are also addressing this, there are a couple of things that we know we're going to do. First off, we are going to be able to measure student impact, not only on performance, but also impacts on behavior. Through our partnership with MNPS and their very robust data warehouse, we have the ability to apply a number of different metrics, inclusion, adoption, to look at that. Secondly, within the Connect Home program for MDHA, we also have the ability to look very specifically at resident adoption and the impact on residents. And finally, the U.S. Census has started doing annual census updates about internet usage and availability of internet. So we will be able to, over time, compare Nashville to Nashville over multiple years, as well as compare ourselves broadly with other cities. And that concludes this presentation. And I would like to take just a minute and make sure you know who I've got with me. So, of course, you know Jackie Schrago. We're happy to have her. Mr. Harbison and Ben Bentley from MDHA. Marion Christman and Kent Oliver from the National Public Library. Ellen Lehman and Christine Pulley from the Community Foundation of Tennessee. Lonell from the Mayor's Office. Laura Hanson and Fred Carr from MNPS. And I appreciate them all being here today to support this.
Great. We appreciate all you being here. Thank you. Questions, folks? Do you want to tell you?
You threw out a couple statistics at the beginning. You said 58 families don't have access to the internet.
58,000.
58,000 families or individuals?
58,000 families.
Families, and 44% of MPS students don't have access.
In 2012, there was a study called TEP study that was done in 2012 within MNPS, so it's MNPS's known numbers. That is the most recent statistic we have, and obviously it's 4 years.
So what do you think this proposal is going to do to those numbers? Okay, do you think 58 goes to 50, or do you think 58 goes to 57?
We have not looked at that across the board, but we certainly feel like with the pilot that's being done in MNPS, we're finishing the first 100 pilot at Hunter's Lane right now. We're looking at continuation of that at Hunter's Lane, which effectively, from my understanding, the entire school applies for this, and we're also looking to branch out out to Apollo Middle and potentially others in the next school year. From MDHA, and Ben, you may remember the specific numbers, we have the goal of reaching 560 families of the 14,000 residents of MDHA by this summer. So while we have short-term goals, we haven't actually projected this out longer term in a holistic manner.
Okay, and my final question is who's missing from this bucket? If this is our pilot group that we're starting with, where's the greatest need in the other area?
So this is something that's close to Ellen's heart and mind. Within the Digital Inclusion Fund, we have identified 7 different subgroups, including the medically fragile, the recently incarcerated, the elderly. At this point in time, based upon the needs of our school students, this has been our focus at this point. Ellen and I are working very closely to work toward a solution to around the medically fragile. We've been talking, especially Ellen has been talking to people at Vanderbilt. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Ellen?
No, I just... Step to the microphone.
Yes, sir.
But we very purposely chose digital inclusion as the name as opposed to digital divide, because we know that no one in this community can get a job unless they have basic computer skills. So we're looking at the unemployed and the underemployed in addition to the other categories that Keith named. The reality is that whenever we read an article about bringing people in to make sure we have a workforce available for all these companies that are moving here, this can be part of the solution to that, helping people be able to access a job and giving these kids and young people who may be disenfranchised with public school a new sense of their future and their possibilities and the tools to succeed in the workforce of not only today but also tomorrow.
But this particular project is just with kids.
This one is focused on schools and families at MDHA.
Right.
The Connect Home program from HUD is focused on school-aged children in these properties.
Michael.
On your option 3, how many community centers, what's the seat capacity, so we can understand how many people could be served per day?
Mr. Harbison, Ben.
Because it's for 100,000, I'm just wanting to know what's the capacity of 100,000.
Yeah, so there are about 21 public housing properties that we would be serving through this. About 5,500 families live in those properties, but as most of you are probably familiar with Metro Wi-Fi, it would not just be the families that live in those properties that would be affected. There would be a number of other people in the surrounding communities that would have access to internet service through these Metro Wi-Fi hotspots. So it's hard to say how many additional families, but at a minimum, the 5,400.
So my follow-on is 20-some locations?
Yes, sir.
And how much equipment do they have in case they don't have a computer in those locations?
In terms of devices and support for
Because we talked about the shortage of both Wi-Fi and devices.
Sure. So we're working with the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee and the Digital Inclusion Fund. They've been fantastic partners in Connect Home. We believe that the device situation, we have a great supply and we're continuing to build that supply out. So we will have devices for each of our residents.
Is there a current supply within these 21 centers, or have you got to do that still?
We will have to make applications through the Digital Inclusion Fund, and in terms of their current supply, I would defer to them.
So this gets us, this money gets us to light up those community, and then we still got to get the devices there for young people who have no device? I'm just trying to understand what do you get on option 3 for the 100,000?
So what you're getting exclusively the connectivity for the 100,000 in the community centers.
Okay.
One of the programs and the model we're using here is providing a device, connectivity, and training around the relevance of why you need to be online.
Sure.
So we have a large balance in an account for devices at the Community Foundation that both Anytime Access and the Connect Home program can apply to get them through the course of the project. Both projects are anticipated as they mature to expand out within all all MDHA properties and throughout the school system as well.
So this funding is primarily to light it up?
It's
so that
to
you
light
put
it
the
up,
device-
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That was where I was trying to go with.
So, quick question. Kent, when you came for your budget conversation with the libraries, you asked for $100,000 to buy 100 hotspots, which would be things that you could just check out and take home with you, free. So,
Kent.
here, you can come up here. So why wouldn't I be looking at investing more in that? Because then that family could take it home, or...
I think you definitely could. What we were looking at in our budget process was 100 hotspots as a pilot that we would check out to get a sense before we did a large investment, because we believe that not only do students potentially have a device that they can use, but we also see it as an adult and family type of thing as well. And all of the folks that we serve will not necessarily be students. There may be individuals, single folks that need that type of access as well. But I do think down the road, the hotspots could potentially solve the problem here.
Right, I mean, is it potentially more cost-effective for us to have these hotspots that you take out as opposed to $17.7 million to blanket MDHA? And I don't know the answer, but I'm asking.
Right.
What we found is hotspots are not necessarily a good option, and so that's why we're looking at other directions.
Okay.
There are options in this arena.
And which is why we're doing it as a pilot rather than trying to roll out 1,000 at the beginning and go with it.
Okay.
Have you looked at other cities and which options they're using?
We have. Boston has a great model, Kansas City, Austin. We spent a lot of time looking at their models, and their problem is not necessarily the connection. Their problems are the computers, which is something they're looking at us to see the model we haven't put in place. What they are more apt to do is say, hey, here's a website. There's a group called everyoneon.org, which is a collaborative from a number of different organizations. They're more apt to say, here's Everyone On, go get your connectivity, whereas we are much more in tune with let's see what we can do to help make sure you not only have that device, but you're getting that connectivity. So we're working very closely with Comcast and AT&T and Google and others to help make that happen, as well as the people at Everyone On.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Thank you so much.